Welcome everyone to the next episode in our Nightsprings series. If you are new, I recommend pausing and watching the introduction video which breaks down the nature of the TV show before proceeding further. With that out of the way, grab some popcorn and let's check out today's episode of Nightsprings.
Tonight's episode, The Dream of Dreams. We join Mr. Jones as he explores the endless dreamscape, only to be brought to a sudden stop by a decidedly mundane situation. A long line of people.
Hey, Jones, right? Listen, we're gonna have to wait until His Highness over there is good and ready.
Oh wow, who's that?
You don't know him? What are you, new? He's the guy dreaming us. Well, not just us. He dreams everything. All of this.
But wait, no. I'm the one who's dreaming. I'm asleep. Isn't this my dream?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Get real, pal. You're just another dream. I'm a dream. You're a dream. The weirdo in the diving suit is a dream. And the girl made of smiles and sunshine is definitely a dream.
But I'm pretty sure I'm dreaming this.
Well, maybe you're a really confused dream. What am I, a shrink? All I know is I'm going with the smart guys. And they say that's the guy doing the dreaming. Right there.
I don't know what that means.
It means we keep him happy. No sudden falls. We make sure he has his clothes on when he goes out in public. No chases where the monster is nipping at his heels and he runs like crazy, but his legs don't seem to get him anywhere. None of that. Because if he wakes up in a cold sweat...
Oh.
Yeah, precisely. So we wait till he wants to move on. Keep things nice and calm.
Hey, something's happening here.
Yeah? What's that?
What? Can't you hear that?
Oh, God help us, it's an alarm clock. Oh, it's you, isn't it? Please, man, I got a wife and kids. Please don't wake.
While standing inside the Anderson brothers' barn, Barry and Alan come across the TV playing this episode.
Was this one of your episodes? The Dream of Dreams.
That's by someone else.
We have direct confirmation that this episode was not written by Alan while he was a staff writer. However, as we will see, there are many connections to the predicament the writer finds himself in. For now, let's go over the plot. On its surface, Dream of Dreams is fairly simple. A dreamer concocts an entire world of individuals within his head. Upon awakening, these figments will vanish. Some figments are aware they are not real, while others initially believe they are. The concept reminds me of various mythological figures, gods who dream the world into existence. In the Lovecraft mythos, one of the titles assigned to Azathoth is Sleeping Chaos. This entity and its dream is reality itself. Another example is the Dance of Shiva. This represents the cycle of creation and destruction. Ending this dance is akin to the end of the world. However, when one dream ends, one can always return and create a new one the following night, just as Shiva can always begin a new dance. The previous episodes of Nightsprings we have discussed either focus more on the narrative connections to other parts of the Remedyverse, or theories about how they could potentially connect in the future. While this one has a few of those as well, most of what I get out of this episode is thematic similarities. However, before getting into those, let's look at some of the more direct links. Central to this episode's climax is the alarm clock, which awakens the dreamer. This alarm causes all of the characters and the dreamscape itself to vanish. In the context of this episode, it comes off as a terrifying experience for the individuals whose existence is snuffed out. However, what if the dreamscape wasn't full of random people doing random things? What if it was filled with nightmares instead? Would the alarm clock be a positive thing to pull the dreamer out of the state and back into reality? With this in mind, let's take a look at the Signal DLC of Alan Wake. Trapped inside the dark place, the contents of this reality functions very much like a dream. Alan's own unconscious filling it with people, places, and events ripped right out of his head. Since he is imprisoned here, it is like he is trapped in a never-ending dream. Considering he is familiar with this episode of the show, it seems fitting that the primary collectible throughout the DLC are alarm clocks. My gut tells me that Alan was summoning these clocks as an early attempt to wake himself up from the dark place in the same way it awakened the dreamer. Unfortunately, this place is a lot more difficult to escape, and a simple trick like this will not work. The next connection may not have any relevance to anything, but it seemed fun enough to mention anyway. Barry confirms that this episode was not written by Alan. However, one turn of phrase is ripped right out of his most recent book.
We join Mr. Jones as he explores the endless dreamscape, only to be brought to a sudden stop by a decidedly mundane situation.
While this is very likely a coincidence, hearing the name of Alan's latest book in an episode that directly relates to the themes he is personally dealing with stood out to me. With the low-hanging fruit out of the way, let's move on to the primary theme of the episode. Mr. Jones believes himself to be the dreamer of this place. In other words, the creator of the dreamscape. However, he is not. He himself is just another projection. Compare this with Barry's line at the start, wondering if Alan wrote this episode, but then determining it was done by someone else. This exact question about the nature of Alan's story comes up the moment he uncovers the clicker in the well-lit room. We hear the voice of Thomas Zane narrating a scene from Alan's childhood. Many in the community have questioned whether this means Zane is the true author of Alan's story and not the other way around, just like Mr. Jones believed him to be the dreamer only to be confronted with reality. To add another wrinkle, the individual explaining everything to Mr. Jones points out a diver, informing him that this diver is also a dream who believes himself real. During the AWE DLC of Control, the figure who proclaims itself to be Thomas Zane states that the diver wasn't real, only a role he played in his latest film. Could this detail in Dream of Dreams be an echo of this other situation? In this context, Barry's words may be a meta way of asking the player the same question. Was this ultimately written by Alan, Zane, or something else entirely? While I believe Departure and everything related to it was indeed written by Alan, that doesn't mean there are no other artists involved in this world's creation. In the history of this setting, it would be crazy if no one else discovered the power of the Dark Place and made use of it. But trying to determine what is the machinations of Alan versus someone else is a difficult endeavor. Sometimes it is hard to tell. Luckily, we do see one example where a version of Alan learns he is not real.
The part of you that is in control is in the cabin, dreaming and insane.
I don't think I like that.
You represent the part of Alan Wake that is capable of rational thought and planning, which is why I'm talking to you. If that part can regain control, then you have a chance of making it. But a part of you wants to give in. There's comfort in the oblivion of dreams. You represent the part that isn't ready to quit and die.
Wait, are you telling me I'm not real?
You're as real as anything else in this place.
The Alan Wake we are playing learns that the real Alan is the one we see on the TV screens, still inside the cabin and going insane. The Alan Wake we are playing during the 2 DLC campaigns is simply a projection like Mr. Jones, the aspect of Alan's mind that wants to fight the descent into madness. Because we see this canonically occur once, we must always question from here on forward if the Alan we see is the real one, or just another figment. In the Dark Place, the question of what and who is real is a hard one to answer. Eventually, we have to ask ourselves, does it even matter? Alan Wake 2 starts off with 2 characters arriving in Bright Falls. One is real, and one is not. But they both influence one another's journey. Just because someone is fictional does not mean they cannot influence us. Many of us are inspired by fictional characters. Sometimes fiction even directs the course our lives take. For some additional content on these topics, I'd recommend checking out the Bureau Book Club episode of Control. I'll link it down below. The opening lines of this episode invites us to question how dreams and fiction influence the objective world.
But dreams have a way of forcing themselves into waking life, or vice versa.
Considering Nightsprings' ability to manifest into the world from a place of fiction, this is an apt description. At the end of the day, the question must be asked, who is the creator of the setting we find ourselves in? According to the House of Dreams blog, it is possible to use the power of the Dark Place to create a new universe. In Control, one document on Threshold states, quote, "Some believe Earth itself is just another threshold connected to the oldest house, which is actually rooted in some other reality. This theory, while impossible to disprove, causes in those who learn of it, so it is actively denied." End quote. If we zoom back away from the reality-bending stories written by Alan, could there be something else that is responsible for the creation of the world itself? If new worlds can be created by an artist, is it possible that the universe Alan lives in was itself created by someone else, whether that be through in-game lore or some meta connection to real life? Of course, it could be both. This episode is confirmed to not be written by Alan, but so much of the details and themes align perfectly with what Alan writes about. To date, we do not know any other staff writers on the show, but considering the similarities and the meta nature of this game universe, maybe another author who knows how Alan writes could be responsible.
Yes, I'll write.
At the end of the day, others are the true authors of this story, the dreamers who filled this world with characters who believe themselves real. With all that said, this concludes our breakdown of this episode of Nightsprings, Dream of Dreams. See you next time. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe to receive updates on future uploads. If you would like to help support the channel, a Patreon has been set up and the link is in the description below. Have a great day and peace be with you all.